6 weeks, and yesterday was the day he finally unpacked. And like, of
wow.
course, then needed 100 things to whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, did you? I know Rob and I both offered to count stuff. What is that? I don't
Actually,
know what that
I'm
involves.
gonna appoint you inspectors of the election.
Okay.
So I will appoint you.
Okay.
When we do the election of the officers and trustees,
sorry.
it's probably going to be a voice vote.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
And then before here,
See, he's doing my agenda here for me. Oh, awesome.
did you find my magic hidden pen?
No, I brought one out.
Oh, yeah, I always have a pen kind of right here for,
I brought one out just in case I need it. Anyway.
Really, my question was, do I need to sit anyplace special?
Not really.
Okay.
Unless you want to.
and if they're serving as inspectors, maybe one of them should just go look over Amitai's shoulder in case anyone online is voting.
Oh, good idea. Thank
Okay.
you. Good
idea.
point. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
But are we like actually counting? That's really my question. Like, are we recounting? Are we like standing here and counting?
No.
No.
I'm going to call for a voice vote. I'm assuming everybody's going to say aye. I'm assuming everybody knows.
Okay. So
If it
it's
were-
only if there
if it were-
if it's a contentious.
If it were a close vote,
Gotcha.
then you would have to do it, and then I have to pull out some paper for
Gotcha.
you. But I think
Okay.
we're all
Okay.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Did you get your hair cut?
I did.
Oh my gosh, it looks fabulous.
Thank
I
you.
love it. I love it. And congratulations. I hear you had a
I
confirmation
have a
on Friday.
confirmand now, yes.
Very
thank
nice.
You. In service. It's nice
cool.
to get to be there. Very strange being a Jew in Peter.
Yeah, do you like it or not?
Well, I was getting, like, people were, like, turning around to look at me because I was singing.
Oh, you have to do the Sato voice when you're in the crowd.
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, you got that's a skill.
I
You
don't
gotta
know if they
learn
were
that.
like good looks or like
Who
what
is
she
this?
doing? Who is this?
Yeah.
So that was a little awkward, but everything else was lovely.
Oh, cool. That's so nice. That's so nice. I like that term, the Jew in the pew.
Jew in the pew.
Yeah. So,
Sound system is on. Okay, now we're on.
yeah, so it's now 2 minutes past 10. So
I think there is a song.
that's what he just. Yeah, he
Good
just-
morning,
he just
Peter
wrote
and
on my
Michelle at
agenda.
home. Just send a text back or chat in the box to let me know if you can hear us. Yes, until votes. David Fisher, can you hear us at home? Ah, terrific. Thank you.
Am I in your spot?
Nope. You're here first.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Can we get started? It's 3 minutes past 10, and we like to start on time. And we're going to start. Cantor Micah is going to do an opening song for us to get us in the mood.
We're gonna sing together Ahine Matov that we learned when Noah Aronson was here just a few weeks ago. Okay, so remember we're gonna light up the world, brothers and sisters. Yanana, yanana, hine matov. Yanana, yanana, umanai. Yanana, yanana, shavet achim. Shavet achim gam yachad. Yanana, yanana, hine matov. Yanana, yanana, umanai. Yanana, yanana, shavet achim.
Thank you, Cantor Micah. And congratulations on having a new confirmand in your household. So, our first order of business is to call this meeting to order and establish a quorum. Better?
Yes.
So, we need at least 30 people here to have a quorum. I think we got it, right? Awesome. As we do with many of our meetings, all of our board meetings, we read the mission statement and the statement of welcome to bring us back to who we are. Our mission statement: Temple Sinai is a progressive Reformed Jewish congregation dedicated to the spiritual, social, and intellectual development of our members through engaging worship, community involvement, and inspiring learning within a caring, responsive, and inclusive extended family. Growth happens here. Our statement of welcome: you are welcome here. Refugees are welcome here. People of color are welcome here. Members of the LGBTQ+ community are welcome here. Partners of another faith tradition are welcome here. Spiritual seekers are welcome here. Atheists and those who struggle with religion are welcome here. Our doors are open to all people, period. Okay, and you have a Devar Torah for us? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Lovely to see ya. We're going to do a little bit of learning now, so I'm going to ask Amitai to advance the slides so we can start with a blessing over the experience of engaging with Torah as we see this annual meeting as an opportunity to look back on our year as another chapter in our scroll of life at Sinai. So join me, if you will. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Those of you who've been coming to services the last couple of months have been counting the Omer with us. Each evening between Passover and Shavuot, we pause and just count the day. And today is the 47th day of that 50-day count to Shavuot, which means that holiday will happen beginning on Tuesday night. Shavuot is both a holiday of the wheat and barley harvest, and it's also the mythic revelation of Torah to Moses on Mount Sinai. It is a day of enormous joy. So I can imagine this hard-working farmer of antiquity standing over her fields, taking in the fruit of her labors, seeing the tangibility of what she's worked so hard, those strenuous efforts. I have a taste of that with my garden as I watch those tomatoes ripening on the vine, anticipating, almost salivating over the salad that I know I'm not going to get a chance to eat because those goddamn squirrels are going to climb in there and eat the fruit just before they ripen. And then the squirrels, as if to pour salt in the wound, they'll eat a little bit of each tomato and leave the rest to rot. Betsy, I think you told me early on that gardening in Connecticut is not for the faint-hearted. Like a satisfied farmer, Temple Sinai pauses at this time of the year to take stock of the yield in this harvest. We've sown the seeds, we've tilled the soil, we've watered the shoots, and we've supported the growth of individuals in this sacred garden of people. We witnessed the way that some of you transformed from being newly introduced prospective members into deeply embraced and treasured new family members. And we were reminded, those of us who've been here a bit longer, why belonging to this family is so precious. The programs that we dreamt up 18 months ago have been initiated. Some of them were marvelous successes this year, and others were experiments that taught us important lessons. I buried a lot of wonderful people this year. Having now completed my 12th year with the congregation, I've gotten to know you pretty well. Excuse me. That actually was not me showing emotion. That was the allergies. I am emotional, come on. But in this case, Having gotten to know you pretty well, there were some friends that I buried this year. There were illnesses that we supported each other through. There were retirements that we celebrated together. There were several pillars of the Temple Sinai community that died this year, people who go back almost all the way to our founding. And I buried some of your fathers and your mothers and a couple of siblings. And though I might not have known them directly, I love you. And so I mourned with you in those losses. But I also celebrated with you the birth of your children and grandchildren and a couple of great-grandchildren. We named a bunch of them here in our community. And we sent out an awful lot of Mazel Tov emails. Some of those Mazel Tovs included weddings. I married a bunch of your children. And personally, my own family celebrated our son's bar mitzvah in December, and how sweet to do that with our Temple Sinai family. There were a lot of authentic moments that happened this past year. October 7th happened and changed everything. Some of our Sinai family members were directly affected by the murders that day. And this is emotion. And others have been dragged into a war, either directly or by extension, that has been raging ever since. None of us has escaped unscathed. Our world will never again be the same, and I was touched to see how the congregation responded. Students that I met when I got to town, who were 5 years old at the time, went off to college this year. And we reached out to them in the fall, every one of them, to make sure that they were okay during the turmoil of campus protests. We held several gatherings of support here, and Israel was the topic of several programs this year with the help of Yoav Yaron, our Shaliach extraordinaire, par excellence. Israel became the next on a growing list of potentially divisive topics that we had to make sure did not split our precious Sinai community apart. And I certainly have not hit my target on that matter at every juncture, but we're still here, and we still seem to like being with each other, so I can't have gotten it completely wrong. I hear people say all the time that they are aware of the privilege that they enjoy in their lives, the blessings that they deserve no more than anyone else. And I totally relate to that feeling. And I want you to know that I think that Temple Sinai has been an important part of that life of blessing for so many of us. We're looking forward, like farmers, to a bountiful future. And as we have built this together, others have heard about what a great thing we have here at Sinai. The congregation's rapid growth this last couple of years has forced us all to work a little harder at keeping it feeling like a small place. The congregation is authentic in its warm, welcoming culture. And the good news is that is scalable. Sinai's not losing its mom and pop nature. It's gaining more individuals to help us make it so. And of course, the increase in our membership also has allowed us new possibilities and resources that we're all enjoying. I'll speak a bit more about that when I get to my report. So in addition, one more aspect of Shavuot, in addition to the agricultural origins of the holiday, it is also a time in which the mystics of our tradition teach about the relationship between the Israelites and God as if a marriage that is solemnized that day. The ketubah, of sorts, becomes the Torah. And we know that healthy relationships must be based on trust and reliability. And while I don't know about your thoughts on God these days, you as individuals, and I'm certainly not going to suggest that any of you are wedded to Temple Sinai, I will propose that this Shavuot week, you might enjoy counting the days of your Omer in a way to take stock of the blessings in your life, including the value of this trusting and reliable relationship with Sinai that we each get to have with this very special sacred community. Ken Yehi Ratzon, let this be God's will, a good new year.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you. That just took up about half of my closing remarks, so thanks. So we'll shorten the meeting a little. So the next order of business is we'd like to approve the minutes from the 2023 meeting, which was included in your packet and sent around. I'll just call for a voice vote, motion to approve. And all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So passes unanimously. Thank you. The next order of business is the reports from the professional staff. Rabbi, I'll let you organize that.
All right. Thank you very much. I am going to invite up Maura Erica, Cantor Micah, and Maura Phyllis to join me up here. Actually, you know what? I have a little bit longer report, so then rather than making you stand there and wait, I'll invite you up as soon as I'm done. It has been a year. I got a lot to share. So let's start with the theme that I proposed last year, which was, I think in hindsight, I would have marketed it a little differently, but we talked about this year as being a DIY Judaism year, do it yourself. And the intent behind that was to empower and engage all of us to be active participants and less reliant on the outsourcing of our Jewish expression to professionals. And I can confidently say this has been a year of wild success in that respect. Shabbat Your Way is a chance for us to bring people in, to let them lead other parts of the service, and then as participants to choose where we want to engage most meaningfully on a Friday night. We did one of those in the fall, and then we did a Purim Your Way a couple months back, and we even had congregants take ownership of and deliver the Megillah that evening as Cantor Micah and I were engaged in other Purim offerings that night. Services are another place where congregants have become more hands-on and included in the routine of owning our Judaism. We've had congregants' liturgy, often written in partnership with Cantor Micah's circle of poetic license, and we've been including that material in a regular way throughout the course of the year so that we are seeing our peers write our prayers for us. It's beautiful. Just recently, a couple of weeks ago, I invited congregants to join us during the service to deliver kavanot, intentions before the offering of a prayer, which is all I do as well as rabbi. So to have others serve as rabbi in that moment to tell us why the prayer is meaningful to them is a powerful way for us to see it differently. Carol already took the first invitation, and Grant is going to do it again this coming Friday, I think, yeah? Anyone else who has a favorite prayer, come talk to us. We'd love to have you join that. We've reset this sanctuary. I know this is a surprise to some of you sitting here that I just mentioned it. But sure enough, look at this. We brought the bima down off we brought the lectern off the bima so that the center of everything is in our midst rather than being up on the stage with you as audience. We brought new people into our service leading team, including helping with Shiva Minions. We added on more Sinai Circle leaders who would be instrumental in owning that constant sense of delivery. Rather than recipients, they are providers. And Larry and I worked with them all year long in training them to own those experiences most powerfully. We moved more graduates from our Amidah Leadership Initiative into positions of leadership on the board, as well as leadership positions in committees, more empowerment. Cantor Micah and I had a congregant sit with us as a member of a Beit Din, as a ritual court, to welcome into the Jewish people a new Jew. Something that I think many of you think, well, that should be the job of the rabbi and cantor. Well, our ancestors, our rabbis of antiquity, disagreed. And so we empowered people in that way. We have a member who volunteers with the Stamford Chevra Kadisha. This is a powerful mitzvah. This is the team of people who respectfully, lovingly prepare bodies for burial. And I'm looking for a couple more volunteers to take that job on. Not everybody can do it. It's not for every nature. But I could, use another male identifying and female identifying volunteer. And if that's something that you think you might be able to help with, please come talk to me. I'd like to talk about it more with you. And we've inspired one of our newest members to serve the Jewish people as a calling. Because a Jewish community like Sinai, like this, has made Elizabeth Hines want to apply to Hebrew Union College's rabbinical school in this coming year. What a remarkable demonstration of engagement and empowerment. Some of you may have seen up on the screen the slideshow that was running before, and we'll restart it afterwards. There's a picture of Belinda Sheets. Belinda Havdalah. Ma'alim b'kedusha, always going up and up in holiness. Belinda had a wine, cheese, and meaning of life gathering at her home, and she said, "Oh, while you're here, Rabbi, can you help put up my mezuzah?" And I said, "No, but I'll guide you in doing it yourself." So there's a picture up there of her with her hammer in her hand, putting up her own mezuzah. We have members just like you, who are some of you, who are serving as mentors to our teens who are on the process of writing Divrei Torah. You don't have to be a Torah scholar. You don't have to be a writing expert. You just have to want to give support to some upcoming members. We have a big bar mitzvah class coming up this coming year. How many? 24? 27? 27 B'nai Mitzvah this coming year. We need a team. And so I could really use a few more to join Carol and Gary, and who else is one of my mentors? Robin, Betsy, thank you. Anyway, yes, please. Elizabeth. In so many of these examples, all of which in my mind were examples of DIY successes, in so many of them, we can see obviously that it's good for Sinai. But much more importantly, owning and creating and delivering Jewish moments themselves is good for each of these individuals. And we'll be expanding on these for many, many years to come. This year has also been a year of building in many other ways as well. Myrna Sessa and Sharon Goldstein have been completing a thorough and careful audit of the operations in the Temple Sinai offices to make sure that we are operating as efficiently and as effectively as the demands grow, and they're going to help us accommodate that expanded programming and membership. Avodat Halev, which is our Saturday morning meditation service, has caught on. The secret seems to be out, and every month the attendance grows to the point where we're having to ask questions about our space and how we can fit all these folks into the room, and also the hunger for that type of Shabbat morning opportunity has led us to add on a second Avodat Halev each month in the fall. So we're very excited about that growth as well. Sisterhood and Brotherhood, who've been stalwarts and pillars of Sinai forever, continue to add on to their way of supporting the synagogue. This year, just two examples are that Brotherhood took over the delivery of the men's retreat, and it was another wildly successful year. And Sisterhood, when we could not meet the needs of the caring committee type support, Sisterhood said, "We got this." This is how Sinai thrives. Amitai is going to put a couple pictures up on the screen now of our playground project. We empowered a task force of, Lisa Silver and Susan Brown and Alana Slawinski to help get us to the point where we could sign a contract. Thank you, David Cohen, for making sure that the language was all in line. We're going to be breaking ground in the next couple of weeks on 2 new playgrounds. One big one down below for the big kids, and one smaller playground meant for 2 to 5-year-olds up top next to our building for our new ECEC students. You'll hear more about that in a moment from more Phyllis. And here's why many of you don't know anything about this. Because in working to constantly grow and develop our community in every direction, and I don't mean numerically, one of those elements is having to train our young families about what philanthropy looks like. Having to get them engaged in making their Judaism what they need it to be. Believe it or not, life and legacy invitations seem to fall on deaf ears for 32-year-olds with little kids. But playgrounds, that gets their attention. So we've had a nice community of lead donors who've made it possible. They've gotten us most of the way towards our goal of fundraising, and now there is an active campaign ongoing to finish up the fundraising, but you haven't heard anything about it unless you've got a kid in the religious school. We want that community to underwrite the cost of the playgrounds for their kids, and that is the beginning of developing a relationship, a ongoing relationship where they think about their own responsibility in that way. We have also been sure, thanks to Mike and the development committee, these last 2 years to share with the whole congregation, but specifically those young families, a very clear graphic image of how the money kind of falls out within this organization, because we want them to see that the benefit their students are receiving in our religious education programs isn't nearly paid for by their tuition. Those of you who've long since had kids in our religious school, you're helping pay for that, and we want them to know that. This is the story of Choni, planting trees for children that he doesn't even know yet. So thank you for those of you who've made those programs possible. We are developing the community of givers who will follow close on your heels. Speaking of which, Life and Legacy has been a wild success this year. Many of you know that the Harold Grinspoon Foundation selected United Jewish Federation of Stamford, Darien, and New Canaan to be one of its cities of focus, and Sinai enthusiastically jumped into that program, in which we have been trained over the last couple of years carefully and with systematic benchmarks and goals to become participants in securing commitments from members for after-lifetime support of the congregation. And I should probably have Amitai pause the recording for just a moment, because this is not my proudest self, but is the best at doing this. I'm so proud every time they show how many commitments and finalizations each organization participating has worked towards. Sinai is always way ahead of everyone else, and that makes me so happy. The problem is we're not going to realize that money for many, 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 many years, because we want everyone to be able to enjoy Sinai during their lifetime. But if anyone is open to the idea of leaving something behind to cement this, all of that money goes right into the endowment for Temple Sinai. And some of you have heard me mention my dream. The number is actually coincidental, but a couple years back, I did some quick math and found that if our endowment were $18 million strong at this moment, the interest that it spins off every year would obviate the need for dues. It would allow everybody to participate without that financial consideration, without the obstruction. And so, despite the fact that the development committee starts sweating and laughing when I talk about an $18 million campaign, I haven't given it up yet. And finally, I'm going to mention just a process that is underway. Earlier this year, Susan, as president, brought in a consultant to lead. Am I stealing another piece of your?
Oh, everything, but please, go
Susan engaged the Board of Trustees in a half-day retreat in which we did an analysis of our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. And out of that process, we identified 3 buckets of focus that we need to be working on. And we're underway on all 3 of those. One is strategic planning. One is managing our growth. And the third is making sure that our leadership pipeline, from that first, hello, it's nice to meet you, all the way up to, congratulations, Madam President, that pipeline is well established. All of that's taking place and led by engaged congregants. The one I want to mention is the strategic planning process. This is really exciting because this is where we figure out who do we want to be 5 years from now? What do we think the congregation is going to want from its Judaism 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and what do we need to do this year to make sure we're moving there to be in position? And it's a wonderful task force of thoughtful people, a number of whom are in the room, and I want to just celebrate that and tell you that in the next few minutes, I think an hour or so from now, you're going to get in your email inboxes an invitation, a request. I won't call it a plea, but really that's what it is, for you to take about 15 minutes. It's not a short survey, but it's an important survey. And we really would love it if all of you, not just one per household, all of you, and maybe your adult children, if you can get them to spend a little time on it, all of you take that time, because we're going to use that information on your loves and wishes around this organization to make sure that we're honing and tightening and focusing everything we do to be the best we can, and you're our best sources of information. And so we will have much more to share about that strategic planning process in this coming year, but this is the first step that we need you to take to help us make that a success. Now I'm going to invite up my coworkers, Maura Erica, Maura Phyllis, and Cantor Micah. And when they finish with their presentation, rest assured, Larry's got his report as well, and it will come in the form of his annual interview completed by his son, Harrison.
Okay. Boker Tov, good morning. So we've had a couple of Sundays now where I've not had to get up to come to the building, and we've had no religious school, and we're sort of moving into our sort of summer schedule. So this morning I was up early and went to the grocery store, and my young child, who many of you now know, said, "Wait, you're going to the temple this morning?" I said, "Yeah, I have a meeting." She goes, "Well, wait, but is there school?" I said, No, there's no school. Like, you're not missing. Well, can I come? No, it's more of an adult thing. And I watched the wheels of her head turn, and she really legitimate thought she was going to miss out on something, like if it was school or if there was a program. And as I was processing that on my car ride over, I thought, I don't take that credit. She has spent the last year in our Sunday religious school as a student, with our teachers and our madrachim, and being a part of all of the programs. And it just really hit me as I was coming in that, like, that could be my whole report, right? The fact that I could barely get out of my house because my kid was so disappointed that I was coming to Temple Sinai without her. And I see some of our students come in on Sunday mornings kind of grumbly and finishing their breakfast and not waking up. And those faces look completely different when they're leaving us, or when I see them in the hallway coming over for a program or for whatever it is. The program year here is robust and is full and is busy. And I feel really confident to say that our young children, our teens, our families enjoy their time here and look forward to being with us. And it is such a blessing to get up on Sunday mornings during the school year, or be here on a Friday evening. And just, I'd like to share with you a little snippet of some of the different programs that are under my purview, and just share a little bit of the successes that we've had this year. So I'm gonna go in age order because it works. Our families with young children, we continue to see growth. Friday after Friday, we have families who are introducing me to friends of theirs. We most recently had we have a family who are congregants, who have a young child who are fairly new to our ECEC program, who started bringing another family to our Shabbat program, whose daughter started in our ECEC program this week. And it has been so sweet to see them getting to know Temple Sinai and figuring it out that it's the right place for them and growing their relationships and developing. So we meet twice a month for first and third Friday, and they each have a little bit of a different feel to them to help make them relevant for different families, with also a congregant and wonderful musician and children's educator, Natasha Fenster. And if you're ever coming in for a service on a Friday, depending on where we are, you may hear us, you may see a child whiz by our pizza coming in. We have really fun, robust Shabbat programs on those Fridays, and we're continuing to move those forward. We have a new addition to our Shabbat offerings this year, which will be a more family-geared Shabbat on the first Fridays here in the sanctuary. That includes everyone, including, we hope, some of our elementary-aged families, families that have children who have just sort of aged out of that families with young children group, have been in this culture of Shabbat. They've grown up coming to our programming, and we can't just say, oh, you're 5 now, no Shabbat for you. So we're needing to continue to engage them and give them that offering, since we've seen them enjoy it. So, and that won't change our families with young children, so we're adding an offering, which is very exciting. Some of those students join us on Sunday mornings. They've rolled into our pre-K program, in our kindergarten, in our religious school. Our religious school has just about doubled in size since I started in my full-time role at the temple. We have some classrooms that are bursting at the seams. We are working on a little bit of a new model to support the religious school, similar to what Rabbi Jay mentioned with our DIY Judaism, with the support and help of my religious school parent committee led by Kara Schiff. We are going to be asking for parent volunteers a little bit more regularly than we already do, to help make sure that we have adequate coverage and can manage our budget with having extra hands in the building. We have upwards of 22 to 23 students in all but probably 2 of our grades in our religious school. So, it takes a lot of supervision. We need lots of hands. We have a wonderful Madrechim program of teens who come to work in our program on Sunday mornings, and, we're requiring some more help. So it's another way that we're asking our parents and our congregants to get involved and support the program, that they seem to love, which is great. So we are growing in all areas. We had many programs this year, again, that required extra help. So we had a Hanukkah program where families of our younger grades, I think it was K1 and 2, came together and had a big program downstairs, and parents came and ran the different stations, and it's allowing us to think a little bit more outside the box of what we can offer, because we know that we have families who are going to come in to help make those programs possible. We ran our annual Purim Carnival, again, with help and support from the teens. We had inflatables and the bounce house and food. It's always a really fun, robust morning. And next year, we're just going to continue to grow each of those programs. I've already booked 1 or 2 sort of special outside vendors to be coming in to support our PJ Library Sukkot program that we partner with Federation on, and our Hanukkah. So just lots more fun to come. Our Hebrew learning program also continues to grow. We made the shift about mid-year last year away from small group Hebrew altogether and moved into pairs and some singles, and just continuing to see amazing growth, higher level Hebrew learners coming out of that program, making it accessible by offering Zoom sessions in addition to some in-person for those who need it. We have had to look to the world, which we can benefit from having Hebrew on Zoom and hiring teachers from Israel and Arizona and wherever they may be to continue to increase our level of Hebrew learning. We've needed the faculty to keep up with that growth in addition to our wonderful existing faculty. And Sarah Hockman continues on with us as the Hebrew learning program coordinator. It takes a lot of time and coordination and schedule, so we will continue to grow that program. And we're really seeing that, Cantor Micah has mentioned, we're seeing the benefit of the change of our model as our students are rolling into their B'nai Mitzvah prep. So really a great success as we've continued to work through that program. that leads me right into our ever-growing B'nai Mitzvah program. We have added on a new B'nai Mitzvah faculty member. One of our Hebrew learning teachers is moving up to help us accommodate more students. We are extending the number of in-person sessions that we can offer for students whose learning modality will never be Zoom, so that they can have the best support that they can have. The addition of all of our mentors. We have a robust program. Our students are getting a chance to interact with our clergy, with our congregants, with their teachers. So they've got these really great positive interactions with Jewish adults. And there's studies that say that that is one of the most important interactions that we can give to our students, and that is what will stick with them as they go through, and that they know that they can come back and sort of have this group of adults and come visit from college and recognize. So it's wonderful how that program has grown and given them access to so many people. We have grown our B'nai Mitzvah committee. Mered Swilensky, who's here with us, has joined Lisa Silver and Jen Kramer, and just continuing to help support our families and the students and myself as we navigate the growth of the numbers of students that we have coming through. So lots going on. We also have our TS Inspire program. As I said, I'm going through age order. We have played with our teen programming model over the past couple of years, and TS Inspire will run as it did last year. We will continue. We've had a number of students join our Majachim program. These are the teens who volunteer in our classrooms, upwards of 18, 19 teens who are with us on a Sunday morning. We are also, I'd say, our Majachim program and our program called Hidnavut, which is the volunteer sort of social service branch of the TS Inspire program. So we have partnered with Temple Beth El in Stanford to go to Jewish Family Service and pack bags. We've helped here at the Temple packing Mishloach Manot, our Purim bags, giving them different opportunities, cooking meals for New Covenant Center. We've just sort of officially signed on to the Get Out the Vote efforts. We did our first postcarding project this year, and we'll be incorporating those Get Out the Vote efforts, in the correct time frame, with the support of some of the groups and Steve Zales and Joan Kranz and the groups that are happening already at the Temple. It felt like a really great way to help get the teens engaged. So if you're ever around on a Sunday morning during the program year, come join us. Keep an eye out for our programming. Our little kids love having adults around and extra hands, so please keep an eye out for some opportunities also to get involved as we have more students. We need more hands. Thanks, everyone.
Hi. I do not have as many programs as Erica. I'm listening to her do all these things, and I said, oh my thing is going to take about a third of the time that hers will. But I'm Phyllis Lyons, and I'm the director of the Early Childhood Education Center at Temple Sinai. I can't believe that it is just short of 2 years, where 3 years ago we talked about, okay, we've got this fabulous space, and what are we going to do with it? We could offer it to a yoga program, we could take a music program. Wait, we love young children, as Erica has shown us, and no place thrives better than when you have young children, whether they be screaming, as many of us hear a lot during the day, or just running and giggling and adding to the personality and vibrancy of the school. Almost 2 years ago in August, we opened. We had 1 room, 3 children, and 2 teachers. From the get-go, Rabbi Jay said, we have to have Shabbat on Friday morning. He'd come into the room with the 3 children, and we would do Shabbat. We now fill one of the larger classrooms, and we have children from 3 months old to 4 years old getting to have Shabbat with Rabbi Jay every Friday, and it is a sight that has to warm your heart. Rabbi Jay has invited several people to come in and observe this anytime you want to. We do it 10:30 on Friday morning. It really is a wonderful, wonderful experience to see, from the tiny babies who are doing the bim bam to our older children who are learning the songs and the rituals of it. So this year, our probably greatest accomplishment is we are now licensed for 6 rooms, and we got our zoning, thank you, David Cohn, to 42 children. So this summer, we're at capacity with 8 infants, 16 toddlers, and 10 preschool. Our preschool room went from, we just moved it a couple of weeks ago, from what you think of a one-room schoolroom to a true kindergarten classroom. You walk into the room, there's a science area, a math area, a dress-up area, and it really gives you the feel of what the children are going to have when they move on next year. We are also at 8 teachers, 8 full-time teachers, 2 part-time teachers. So that has really grown nicely also. This is my first experience in daycare. I've always worked in nursery school, and one of the challenges that I had was we open at 8:30, we cater to the working parent, but parents drop off anywhere between 8:30 and 9:30. They pick up anywhere between 4:30 and 5:30. And given the fact that they're working parents, they don't want to hear about a program during the day. They just don't have the time for that. So the challenge was, how do we come together as a community, not just having the children here, but letting the parents see what the whole thing is about. So we have done a few early morning family Shabbats, and they've been lovely and very well attended. We did a Hanukkah party for the families, and really by accident, we decided to do a Thanksgiving feast for the children, just to have them make several stuff. And I thought, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, most people do take off. They have extra family coming in. Let's include them. Do you remember Rabbi Jay? I had said, well, just do it in one of the classrooms. It'll be fine. It was standing room only because we had grandparents, we had friends, we had older siblings, and it was one of the best experiences. So next year we know, bigger space, but it will be one of the better family get-together programs. We went from one toddler play school area outside to we now have 3. And Shelley has told me that the actual play structure is coming in, so we're going to have a toddler area, we're going to have a preschool play area, and then the third area is a water area. And there is nothing cuter than watching little kids in their diapers under the sprinklers and just having fun at the water tables and doing all those things. The school is thriving. We have our challenges. Come September, we will still have some spaces. For the first time ever, we're thinking about doing a marketing program, which we're going to have a meeting and talk about that. But we are in such a good place, and it is such a joy to see what the program is and what it can become. So the past, the present, not sure what the future is going to hold. That's what I have.
Hello again. So I approached this as a sort of a look back over all of the sort of arts and musical programming that fall under my purview. And then I just realized, when you start all the way back at the beginning with the high holidays, I had forgotten about it. I want to remind you all about the wind phone, it's down the hill outside in a little enclosure that Rabbi Jay made for us. And the wind phone is an opportunity to pick up the phone and have a conversation with a loved one who is no longer here on this earth with us, and just to try a different modality of connecting with a loved one. And then you can write reflections in a little notebook that we have down there. So, and one of my tasks this summer is to paint the sign that says, here is the wind phone, so that you can't miss it, but it is down there. Rabbi Jay mentioned Shabbat Your Way. We did 2 of them over the course of this year, and those evenings were opportunities for me to run a couple of art Beit Midrash classes. So the first one was watercolor painting, a watercolor frame for a personalized home blessing. So we wrote our own blessings for our homes, what we wanted for our families and for our guests to feel and to know upon entering our houses, and then decorated the way that we wanted. And it was a beautiful evening. And then on Purim, we made Purim masks together, but not like you just stick the sequins and the pom-poms on. We really, we talked about reasons why we wear masks, all different kinds of reasons, and then what we wanted our masks to depict about us or to hide about us. So that was a very fun program, and we will have continuing Art Beit Midrash classes next year. The annual Cantors concert was a huge success. It's always a highlight. We exceeded our fundraising goal. One of our singers in the concert also has her sights set on cantorial school a few more years down the road, so we're inspiring the next generation of clergy here at Temple Sinai, which is exciting. And we welcomed cantor Katie Kaplan, who sang with us that evening as well, and it was just a great night. Poetic License, Rabbi Jay also mentioned, is the circle that I am privileged to lead, and we've been writing our own interpretations of the liturgy for 3 years now, and we've shared many of those readings during services, and I love the sound when we finish a reading and it says, by whoever, that you might be sitting next to, and everybody goes, wow. So I invite anyone who's interested in writing or liturgy or just curious to come and join our circle next year. We'll continue to write and to explore together. Similarly, Zentangle continues to be a really important practice for about 25 of us regularly throughout the year at Temple Sinai. And in addition to our Wednesday evening classes, we had a half-day Zentangle retreat in person here in the building where we decorated beautiful wooden boxes. There were some pictures up earlier that showed the work that we did together, and they became keepsake boxes or places to store your Zentangle tiles, and we really had a lovely time working on that together. I was with Nan Gordon and Amy Lillian Harper, we're co-teachers. They're also certified Zentangle teachers. I call them my disciples. Friday afternoon Torah study on Zoom continues throughout the year. We've almost gotten through the 5 books in our time together, and then we'll keep going with the other books in Tanakh. So it's quite a journey, and we learn new things every time we come together. Our wonderful musical groups, Ruach and Kolot Sinai, have welcomed new members, have continued to bring beautiful music to our once-a-month Ruach services. Additionally, our MLK commemoration, where we had Reverend Bradley from Union Baptist Church as a speaker this year, Kolot Sinai singing at the Sisterhood Shabbat and Shabbat Shirah and Slichot. Really, they add so much to our services, and it's a privilege to get to work with Barbara Orwick and Paul Storfer and Zach Kampler on making music together with them. I would tell you about the women's retreat, but I can't, because what happens at the women's retreat stays at the women's retreat. But it was just it was so special, and everyone who was there knows what I'm talking about, and just an amazing committee to work with to plan the weekend, and such precious, sacred time with other women in our very special community. Had a blast. putting together the costumes for, but also the music for our Barbie-themed Purim spiel. I think some pictures were up there as well. Just a lot of fun. The kids all learned parodied songs, and they were really excited about the Taylor Swift parody. So that was quite a fun morning of music and ridiculousness and pink. Of course, the Noah Aronson Musician in Residence weekend was a highlight. Friday evening with volunteer singers from the community, adding our voices with Noah, the special Avodat Halev with him that Saturday morning, and then the programs that he offered throughout the rest of the morning, an intentional movement class, and then a discussion of his album, The Left Side of the Page. Just tremendous success and really enjoyed by all. And then, of course, the gala celebration that evening with his performance that just lifted us at about as high as we could go. So I'll just wrap it up by letting you know that I'm hoping to run an adult B'nai Mitzvah class next year. Some of you have reached out to me because you are curious. If you have any thoughts at all about joining that class, please come talk to me. I would love to have you. And another exciting thing that we're planning for next year is Amy Fisher met this wonderful mosaic artist, I think up in Boston, and we're hoping to bring her in to lead a community-wide mosaic art project together. We want to get every single congregant to help create a piece of this larger artwork that will then be displayed in our synagogue somewhere. So I'm very excited about that. And finally, if you have nothing better to do this evening at 7 p.m., I am singing with Katie Kaplan over at Temple Beth El. It's the Jewish American Songbook, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Irving Berlin, George Gershwin, and also another cantor, Shimon Smith from Romamu in the City is going to be singing with us as well. There's a 5-piece jazz ensemble. I'm pretty sure you can still get tickets. Go on their website. It's going to be a great night, and hopefully I'll see some of you there.
Welcome back to our 6th installment of our annual interview series with Larry Stujenki, the Director of Congregational. Welcome back to our 6th installment of our annual interview series with Larry Stujenki, the Director of Congregational Engagement at Temple Sinai. So, I understand our congregation is growing. So how many total members do we have, and how many new members joined this year?
That's a great question. Thank you for having me back. I can't believe it's been 6 years. Yes, and just as you've grown, we've grown. We have 395 members right now, and we had 41 new members join since July 1st of last year. So we are butting up against that 400 number, which seemed so unattainable just a few years ago. And honestly, come July 1st, we will probably be at that 400 threshold because we know there will be a few families joining us at that moment. So we're doing great on the raw numbers side.
Now, I know circles are one of your favorite projects that you've done here at Temple Sinai. How did circles do in this past cycle?
Well, we are just completing our 5th cycle of circles, and we have 26 circles that are active and up and running. We have 320 members who are interacting with each other, and 170 unique members have joined circles.
Unique meaning?
So unique meaning 170 members have joined, but several members have joined multiple circles. So there's 170 members, but there's 320 interactions amongst those 170 members, if that makes sense to you.
It does.
And what's great about circles that I want to add is the beauty we've seen with circles is the multi-generational connections that we're making. So we have all the silos that all congregations have, seniors and empty nesters and young families. And what Circles has done is broken down those barriers and opened up the pathways for members from different generations to meet and grow close with each other. It's been an unbelievable success this year.
And that leads perfectly into my next question, which is, in what different ways have you engaged members of the congregation at all different stages of life?
Well, we restarted Staying Connected at the end of last fiscal year, and we've had several really successful programs. Staying Connected is programming for our seniors. We have a really strong Staying Connected committee that's committed to bringing, vibrant programming for them. And we had 3 good programs for Staying Connected for our seniors, and we've also been able to engage them in volunteer opportunities, which has been awesome. We don't want to forget about our college students, especially after 10-7, so we have sent gifts to our college students, packages for holidays. We sent them Rosh Hashanah packages, we sent them Hanukkah packages, and we sent them Passover packages, and it's been wonderful to see the candles lit in their dorm rooms and getting messages back from them about how much it meant to them to be remembered by Temple Sinai. We do pizza lunches for every grade level with the intention of having the parents meet each other and for them to see how their children interact with each other, which is really important for them to see that the children are bonding. And it's also an opportunity for them to get to know each other. One of my favorite things is watching the parents exchange numbers with each other. I ask them to go and speak to parents that they don't know, because oftentimes they know 1 or 2 of the parents, but the idea is for them all to get to know each other. So that's for families who have children in religious school. We've also continued with the wine and cheese and the meaning of life, which has been incredibly impactful. A circle was developed out of that, and we know in our 3rd one, we know the ladies who got together in the wine and cheese and meaning of life have had lunches once a month, which has been lovely and wonderful, and that's the engagement. And the age range, again, talking about those silos, the age range is from, I think, 35 to 91. So we have multi-generational connections again. We've done the Mishloach Manot this year. We put together 450 bags, which is a tremendous number. And this year we decided, instead of having the staff do it, we again made an opportunity for our Staying Connected group to participate and put in the bags together, along with our children from the religious school, along with some board members. So we had the whole range of Temple Sinai's congregation put together the 450 packages. We had 40 volunteer drivers go out and deliver those Mishloach Manot, and again, a high-value, successful connection of our entire congregation. We've done team programming. I've worked with more. Erica on volunteer opportunities for the teens to do Tikkun Olam out in the community and to collaborate with Temple Bethel as well, and that will continue next year. I'm excited about that, and I think that's what we've done for engagement. Also, a lot of outreach to increase attendance at things like our second Passover Seder, at the gala, at the Noah Aronson programming. So reaching out to people who may feel like they might be on the margins and letting them know that Temple Sinai wants you. You're here. You belong to this place. So we did that. And the last one I forgot to mention was we had the most successful newish member, Havdalah, new-ish member. So it's people who have joined in the last 2 years. We had 85 people at the Todrins home, and it was a pretty spectacular night that night. So a lot of people interacting with each other.
One final question.
Sure, fire away. What do you got?
How would you define the culture of Temple Sinai?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say the culture is shifting, most congregations, and some people have heard me talk about this before, most congregations talk about being warm and welcoming. And when I first started, we were definitely a warm congregation. This was 7 years ago. We weren't necessarily the most welcoming congregation. I would say today we have become a welcoming congregation. So I'm really comfortable saying we're warm and welcoming. But now the goal for me personally is to get us to a point of belonging. So I want our congregation to feel like they belong, not that they're welcomed. When you're welcoming somebody in, you have the power, and it's a disproportionate amount of power. When they belong, it's an equal amount of power. So the goal is to get everybody to feel a sense of belonging. So I think we're getting there. It's hard. It's going to take time. It's going to take intentionality, but we're working on it.
Love that.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to our 6th installment of our interviews. We'll see you next June.
Thank you.
That's it. Yeah. When you do voting, why don't you encourage people at home to turn on their cameras? Okay.
This is on? Thank you. Always enjoy those reports. And I learned stuff too. That like, wow, I didn't know we were doing that. It's great. So this is a business meeting, just so you know. So thank you to all the professionals for your reports. That was great. Well, we have one more report before we get to our voting, and that is Arlene. You're still here, right? Where'd she go? Oh, there you are. Thank you. So our financial report from the amazing Arlene Rosen. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah, there's a few people in this color.
do.
Yeah, that works well. It was great hearing all the staff presentations. I've participated in many of the things I mentioned, but I like looking back over the entire year and just remembering what it's been like and looking forward to the future repeated and enhanced. I'd also like to add that watching Harrison grow from having a 9-year-old voice to what, a 15-year-old voice? 8, all right, 8 to 14. Well, you get the idea. His voice changed over time. And his style has developed as well. Well, good morning, everyone. I would like to start by saying that the state of Temple Sinai's finances is sound. I'm always happy to say that. In terms of current operations, our income has been tracking higher than budgeted, thanks to a stronger than expected annual campaign, as well as a very successful spring gala and Cantor's concert and other fundraising efforts. And while we have had to materially increase expenditures for security throughout the year, expenses overall are tracking close to budget, thanks to good expense management and planning. As you know, and as you heard, our membership has increased, and our synagogue is clearly bustling with activity. With these membership increases, we are also experiencing added pressure on our staff resources and increases in various expenses. And our budget for the next year has increased accordingly. I was interested, as Rabbi Jay mentioned, that with the increase in membership, our resources have not, he didn't mention that there was more pressure on staff resources. He said we have more resources, which I wasn't thinking about when I wrote what I've just said. While we are most grateful for the growth, we are cognizant of the need to manage that growth. We're taking steps in that regard, as you've heard from Rabbi and Susan and the others. Many of you have asked about the financial performance to date of the Early Childhood Education Center, ECEC, as Phyllis was explaining. I'm pleased to let you know that we are just starting to see a small profit from this endeavor based on a fully loaded profitability analysis that takes into account not only direct expenses, but also the indirect overhead costs attributable to the program. We expect that profit level to increase in the upcoming fiscal year as enrollment in the program is set to increase. Well, my numbers are from 22 to 32. I understand we're licensed for 42, but by the end of the year, we expect to have 32 students. Yes, okay, or something along those lines. Okay. Our money is kept in a variety of instruments. Our main checking account is held at Bankwell, and we have a second account at Bank of America. Having these two accounts allows us to ensure we keep our required liquid assets, we keep our required liquid assets under the $250,000 threshold for FDIC insurance coverage. Also, now that interest rates have climbed, we've been able to open an interest-bearing high-yield money market account with advantageous liquidity. We have also purchased several CDs over the last year. We are laddering these 6-month CDs so that they come due at comfortable intervals that allow us to make cash available for any large capital expenditure, either planned or of an emergency nature. In all cases, we've taken steps to ensure that we never have more than $250,000 at any one institution. We work with Lexington Wealth Management, a financial advisory firm, to manage the long-term portion of our portfolio. Over the years, returns have varied with the vagaries of the market. For example, for the year ending December 31st, 2023, our net return was 11.4%, while for the year ending December 31st, 2022, the net return was significantly lower based on a notable market downturn during that year. Taking a longer-term view, I can report that we have realized a 5-year return on our portfolio of 4.5% net of fees. Our investment committee meets regularly with Lexington Wealth Management to monitor performance and tweak our target investment mix as appropriate and within Temple Sinai's investment guidelines. Included in your handout today on the back of the agenda is a report concerning Temple Sinai restricted funds. This report, which is marked as period ending March 31st, I don't have, of course, data for June 30th yet, obviously. This report shows our overall pooled investment vehicles and the balances of endowed and non-endowed funds. As you can see, we find ourselves in a relatively healthy position. However, I must add that the capital needs for a large and aging facility such as ours are significant. It did rain recently this morning, and it didn't leak in here, which was good news. There are important projects we must undertake in the next years, which will require significant expenditure. Our development committee, led by Mark Friedman, has worked throughout the year to help manage our fundraising efforts, focusing on logical timing and messaging. This measured and thoughtful approach to development has helped create a culture of philanthropy at Temple Sinai, as Mark likes to say, and has also served to ensure the right and left hand know what they are doing. The group has worked to make sure the fundraising efforts are targeted and not competing with each other. That's demonstrated partially in the example the rabbi gave regarding the playground campaign. As you may know, Temple Sinai as you do know, because we mentioned this earlier this morning, participates in the Harold Grinspoon Life and Legacy Program, which provides a framework for Jewish communities to increase their endowments. We are part of a cohort administered by United Jewish Federation of Stanford, New Canaan, and Darien. Mike Stone leads our team, which operates as a subcommittee under the Development Committee. Temple Sinai has received more than 50 letters of intent and counting to include Temple Sinai in their estate and gift plans. The estimated value of these legacy gifts is nearly $2.5 million, and we have already received $370,000, which has been added to our endowment. The efforts of this group will help to ensure the long-term financial stability of our synagogue. I would like to conclude by saying it has been a privilege to once again serve on the Board of Trustees of Temple Sinai. As I've noted while serving previously, while the work is constant and challenging, the rewards truly are great. So now I'll try to answer your questions. Don't ask me anything hard. I will also be glad to take up any of these subjects in more detail offline, should you wish to meet separately. So, any questions? Long. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Arlene. That was great. I'm going to have almost nothing left to say at the end now. This is my best dream. Next up on the agenda, we have a couple of governance resolutions, and I want to give a shout out to David Swerdloff, who, along with Rabbi Jay and I, worked on this all year long to just modernize our certificate of incorporation, and also our bylaws. There was a summary that was posted on the website. I hope you all had a chance to go through it. The full set of new bylaws is there, as are, and I believe by mail we were required to send you the actual certificate of incorporation, the new one. So you should have had a chance. I know it was probably your best bedtime reading to go through all of this. You should have had a chance to read through it because it's been online and in paper or by request of the office. So without further ado, I would like to ask for a motion, approval of a motion and a second in a minute to adopt the amended and restated Certificate of Incorporation of Temple Sinai Incorporated in the form that has been approved by the Board of Trustees on April 29th and submitted to the congregation prior to this meeting. So if there's anyone who would like to make that motion, raise your hand. Thank you, Stu. Any second? Thank you, Aaron. And is there any discussion or questions before we vote? Yes, Martha.
I just had a quick question about the governance rules. Could you say a little bit more about what was behind that?
You mean what was behind changing these two things? Are we, because this is for the certificate of incorporation that's on the floor now.
Yeah, yep. So this one said temple meetings will be governed by Connecticut law and not Robert's Rules of Order, which can prevent tracks for organization like ours. So I don't have an objection. I just am curious what is driving that change.
So that's a great question. First of all, we are, whether we say it or not, we're required to be governed by the Connecticut statutes on corporations, and there is a whole section of that. And some of what we were doing wasn't quite in compliance with that, so that we're bringing ourselves into that as our governing, the highest governing principle is the statutes, then it's our certificate, and then the bylaws. So by law, and we just are acknowledging that we are doing that by law. The question about Robert's Rules of Order, we did have a few questions on that. Upon the advice of David Swerdloff, who actually brought his copy of the Robert's Rules of Order, if you could show that, that would be great. For those of you who have not read. And as David mentioned, that presents a lot of traps. So essentially, you know, we will do that, but honestly, we're not a government organization, we're not Congress, we're not the Stanford Board of Reps. It's a bit of overkill, and honestly, I can tell you a few rules in there. I don't know them all, and I don't wish to know them all, and I just think we're doing fine without that. Does that answer your question? Yes. Okay. Any other discussion or questions? Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I keep forgetting that there are folks from home who are online. So, Amitai, is anybody asking a question from home? Not yet. Okay. All right. So without, if there's no further discussion, I will call the vote. So this is on the amended articles, articles. I learned to practice law in Massachusetts. Certificate of Incorporation for Temple Sinai Incorporated. So all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no. And any ayes or noes online? Okay. Any abstentions? Okay, so if not, I think it passed by a unanimous vote. So, next one. So again, this now is, so as I said, we start by the state of Connecticut, the statute, then our certificate of incorporation, and then the third order of governance are our bylaws. And we have changed those from time to time over the years, and it's good governance to look at your bylaws and review them every 2 or 3 years, and it's been a few years since we've redone the bylaws. So, as I said, David and Rabbi Jay, and then I actually involved a lot of people, all the former presidents, all the board members, and others were involved in reviewing these, and they are still online if you didn't get a chance to read them. Again, I'm going to ask if there will be someone will approve and second the motion, which I'll read in a moment, that the amended and restated bylaws of the congregation in the form that was approved by the Board of Trustees on April 29th, 2024, be approved today. So do I have a motion? Mike, thank you. Second? Thank you, Mike. The mics carry it. Any discussion or questions about the bylaws? Yes, David. Or I'm sorry, is that David? Randy, sorry. I could only see the top of your head.
So the summary indicates that the audit committee is being replaced by a new finance committee.
Correct.
Where will the audit function lie?
That's a great question. So the audit function will lie within that committee. We do have, we've kind of split it up with the audit of, we've had an HR audit, we do a payroll audit every year. We've had a little difficulty in getting people to engage in an audit of the rest of the finances. Roughly 80% of our expenses are involved in payroll, so we are covering that. And I think part of the issue is that an audit is a misnomer. We do not, because we're a religious organization, we're a 501c3. We do not follow generally accepted accounting principles. We do our books on a cash basis. We're not accrual basis. If we wanted to have an accounting firm come in and audit us, they wouldn't know what to do because we don't follow generally accepted accounting principles. And what I thought was more practical is to have our finance committee, absorb it in the finance committee. We will continue to do the audit of the payroll, which is roughly 80% of our expenses. And frankly, the most important thing, I think, when we look at our finances and sort of auditing, I hate to use that because that's a packed word that means different things to different people, is to just, the challenge with a charitable organization is making sure that the donations that come with restrictions, that we make sure that we're in compliance with those restrictions. And that's going to be the focus in my plan of what this committee will do to ensure that we are managing our finances appropriately. And we do look at the controls and make sure we have controls in place. I just think it's always been a misnomer to call it an audit committee because we're not doing a formal audit, and you couldn't if you wanted to. Is that helpful to answer your question?
That's helpful. I sit on the board of a number of other not-for-profits, and it's considered best practice to have an audit committee separate from the finance committee because otherwise the finance committee is checking their own work.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's why I believe we set it up so that the finance committee has non-board members on the committee. There are supposed to be at least 2 who are non-board members, so that's I think going to help alleviate that concern. Any further questions or discussion? All right, hearing none.
Carol Gladstone's at home, but she has her hand up. I can't tell if she has a question or if she was seconding the motion. Oh, she was just seconding.
Oh, thank you, Claire. Thank you, Carol.
No, excuse me. I have a couple of questions.
Go right ahead,
In
Carol.
what I read, okay, there was nothing that said that we were a Jewish organization. Now, maybe I missed something. And that the people who were officers should be Jewish.
Yeah, that was from 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I believe. So that nothing has changed from then until now.
But shouldn't it say something that the president be Jewish?
Yeah.
Mike, Carol, Mike Kadish just sort of said that that was asked and answered and has already been a discussion for the annual meeting at the previous.
Okay, and here's another question to Tim for our meeting. Have we looked into solar energy for us?
You asked about solar, but that's not germane to what's on the table right now.
Correct, yeah.
So can we get, so let me table that question for now, and let me get through this vote, please, okay? Does that work?
Yep, she nods yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so hearing no other questions, comments, I'll call for the vote. So all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand, say aye, however you want to do it. Are there any opposed? Any from the, okay. Any abstentions? All right, hearing no nays or abstentions and unanimous ayes, the motion passes. Right. You really don't need to applaud for that, but thank you. And yes, as we should, Next order of business is, for me, prior to our election, is to appoint 2 inspectors of that election. And don't worry, they agreed ahead of time. I'm appointing Robin Himmelstein and Michelle Porras. Actually, one of you might want to stand behind Amitai to make sure that votes coming online. And then I'm going to call on Susan Brown for the election of the new officers and trustees.
Hi, Susan Brown. I was the chair of the nominating committee for new boards, for the Board of Trustees and the VPs. I am not loud enough. No one has ever told me that. Thank you. Thank you for the microphone. So first, just a thank you to Ellen, Aaron, Belinda, Larry, Kobe, and Elizabeth, and of course Susan, who also was a non-voting member of our committee, for all the hard work they did over the couple of months. Second, just a point of clarification from the report that did go out. There was a mention about an identification of the trustees, including brotherhood member and a sisterhood member. Just to be really clear, they are full representatives of the board. We only identified them as that representative just for clarity, but just rest assured they have a seat on the board, and while the presidents of each are the default members of the board, the presidents also have the right to nominate someone to serve in their stead. So they are identified on the roster as such in the page 1. And they are full members with the same rights, obligations, voting ability as everybody else on the board. I just want to make that clear in case it wasn't. She needs that for Netflix. So just a quick comment before I read through the people and the resolution, which is, it's really important when we look at the nominees, first, that they have Temple Sinai's interests at heart, of course, but we also do a good job, or I think a hard job, of looking at balance. And when I say balance, I mean we're trying to balance gender, trying to balance experience, and we're trying to balance generations. And I don't mean necessarily age, I mean people who might have young children, people who have kids in the religious school, people who are just attending, people who are more experienced, and even the older people, generations, just so we have a good representation and good discussion in the board meetings. So with that, with due consideration, I'll read through the names and then I'll read through the resolutions. So we have the vice presidents, where we're proposing Bruce Heller, David Fisher, and welcoming back Lisa Silver, all for 2-year terms. That's to fill in the VPs. And then for the Board of Trustees, to renew Marion Freed for a 1-year term, and then welcoming 4 new members for a normal 3-year term, which is Miles Block, Barbara Kasman, Allison Lear, and Robert Wetzel. And just, you hear balance of genders, but also we had a lot of females on the board already, so we're bringing a couple of males into the VPs. So we have good balance, like I said, of age, experience, generations. So with that, our nominees. And the last thing for our what I think is a really strong slate is we also have in here a nomination for Sharon Goldstein to be first VP, supporting Susan through till the end of her term. Last and not least is the outgoing chair of the committee, me, nominates the next one for next year, and we've nominated Larry Cryer, who served on the board, served on the committee with me this year. So to be official, I'll read the resolutions, and then I think, Susan, we go to the ayes and noes, right? So resolution first, that Sharon Goldstein is nominated for election at the 2024 annual meeting to serve as first VP. Resolved, and I'll say all 3 together because it's the same phrase, but resolved that Bruce Heller, David Fisher, Lisa Silver are nominated at the 2024 annual meeting to serve as vice president for the terms 2024 to 2026. Resolved to renew Marion Freed to continue on the board as a trustee for 2024 to 2025. That's a 1-year continuation. And then again, the others in one resolution, resolved that Miles Block, Barbara Kasman, Allison Lear, and Robert Wetzel are nominated to the for election at the 2024 annual meeting to serve as trustee for the term 2024 to 2027. Resolved that Larry Cryer is selected to serve as chair of the nominating committee for 2024 to 2025. And finally, that we resolve that the committee authorizes the chair to submit this very report to you, our esteemed annual meeting attendees. So with that, you want to call for a vote? Okay, if I can call for a vote, all the ayes, raise your hand and say aye. Wow, lovely. And any noes? Anything? Any, what do you call it? In okay, perfect. And any abstentions? Perfect. Can I say it? We carry that unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Michelle just said that was the easiest job she's done this summer, so. And thank you, Robin. So, speaking of easy jobs, literally everything that I would have said has already been said, except for one thing. Well, actually, except for 2 things, but we'll do that. But first of all, one of the things that I've done, it's always my goal to surround myself with really talented people, and that shows for this year. Everyone in this room has done a fabulous job. Everyone on the board, all the VPs, really, really happy to have had you by my side. Again, it's not me doing this, it's all of us, so I thank you. We have some more thank yous because at the last board meeting, I did thank all the board members who were there who are leaving the board this year. And those are the vice presidents, Grant Callan, Jen Kramer, and Arlene Rosen, as vice presidents, did an outstanding job, and I really appreciated all of their support. We had 2 outgoing trustees, Glenn Wolf and Stu Madison, and I wanted to thank you all. And I just, Glenn's here, right? So Glenn, you weren't there, so everybody who was there that night, and I'm sorry you missed that, got a little parting gift from us, and it's a mug that says Hineni. So. So for all of those who stood up and said Hineni, I know you're leaving the board, but trust me, I know where to find you if I need you. Any further assistance. And last but not least, is Michelle Epstein here? All right. Okay, so Michelle Epstein, you know, many of you know, she, for about the last 10 years or so, has been our board secretary, note taker, extraordinarily conscientious and competent, and has done the minutes of the meetings.
Susan, Michelle is online, so be careful. She's hearing what you're saying.
Okay. Wait, okay, I gotta scratch that, okay. Michelle, thank you for being online. Do we have, can we put the picture up here? Or Michelle, if you're not in your pajamas, could you put your video on? So that's what the back of my hair looks like. Are we able to get her on? Michelle, just thank you. I got to look this way so that you can see me, because if I turn my head, you won't be able to see me. I will drop this off at your house, but we just want to thank you so much for everything that you've done for the last 10 years or so. All the presidents have written you a nice note, and I have some flowers for you as our small token of appreciation. So, Michelle, thank you again. And my next thank you, for those of you who read the bylaws really carefully, you'll note that we now have the ability to appoint a secretary who will be an officer of the board, an officer of the Temple Sinai Incorporated, so that we're in compliance with Connecticut law. And I'm pleased to say that David Swerdloff has agreed to this, and he will be at our very next board meeting, because it's the board that has to appoint him. David will be appointed the secretary of the corporation. So we thank you, David, for all of that. And as I said, everything that I would have said has already been said. So, thank you to Brotherhood and Sisterhood for putting on a wonderful, wonderful bagel breakfast for us again. Have I forgotten to thank anybody? Okay, and if anybody has not signed in, please do so when you get a chance, and this will be recorded with the minutes of the meeting. So, do I have a motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
Lovely. No, right.